Hello, book besties. We are back. Oh, baby, why'd you leave? Babe? Baby girl! Hey, G. Hey, G. Okay, go. Hello, book besties. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Delaney if you are new here, and we are doing a fun, somewhat of a 2024 recap. I have read over 150 books so far this year. She's gonna squeak her toy. I need to shut my door. At the time I'm filming this, I have read over 150 books so far this year, and only 11 of those have been 5-star reads. So we're going to be gathering all of my 5-star reads from 2024 and going through them together. I take my 5 stars very seriously. As you can tell, I do not hand them out unless a book has clearly earned the 5-star rating. And that means that all of these feel like my babies. Like, my 5-star reads are everything to me. I love them with my entire heart. And because of that, like, I was going to try to order them from like my least favorite 5-star read to my top read of the year. And it felt like picking a favorite child. It really did. I was like, I cannot put these in order. They're already the top of the top and I don't feel like I need to order them. So there is no particular rhyme or reason, no particular order, but here are my favorite books that I've read in 2024. First up, I have The Collected Regrets of Clover, and this I originally gave a 4.5 star when I first finished it, but after sitting with it, I think I read this in March, and the amount of times that I have thought about this book over the course of the past year is like, I can't even tell you how many times this has crossed my mind, and that tells me that it's a 5-star. Like, it is incredibly memorable. This book follows Clover, who is a death doula and walks people through their final phases of life. And really, it's just like a deep, meaningful, emotional book about grief and loss and death and life and what it means to live a meaningful and fulfilling life and the power of relationships and like what really matters in life. This is a book that to me is like a clear before and after type of book. Do you know what I mean? When you read a book and you're like, that kind of changed me. This book is a life changer type of book. You know what I mean? I was annotating, highlighting. I want to reread this book. I think it is absolutely phenomenal, and it's also not talked about nearly enough. I do not see anybody talking about this book, which is a huge shame because I clearly adore it. Next, I have Reckless by Elsie Silver, and this is in the Chestnut Spring series, which is one of my favorite series that I discovered this past year. Elsie Silver as a whole, I knew of her in 2023. I read Flawless, the first book in Chestnut Springs in 2023, but I didn't fully fall in love with her until this past year, and now she's one of my new favorite authors. And this book is my favorite book from the Chestnut Springs series. It is incredible. This follows Theo, who is like a small town bull rider, and Winter, who is kind of like a big city girl brought back to the small town. Summer is Winter's sister, which is a little bit cheesy, I know, but Summer is in Flawless, the first book, so it's all kind of interconnected. The entire Chestnut Springs series, if you're unfamiliar, is interconnected standalone, so all the male main characters are brothers or close family friends, and the female main characters are also just kind of existing in the same world. Anyways, this is not intended to give you the full background of the Chestnut Springs series. This is to talk about this freaking book, and somehow Elsie Silver is magic, pure magic, because she took some of my least favorite tropes of all time and made a 5-star read. I am a little bit hesitant to like tell the tropes because sometimes I feel like when I talk about tropes, people are like, you just spoiled the book, and I never want to spoil the experience for somebody, but I'm just gonna say she took like a recipe where when I read the blurb of this book, I was like, oof, I don't know, and gave me a 5-star read, above a 5-star read. I loved this book. Theo Silva has my entire heart. Winter, the female main character, is so relatable. She is just like kind of mean when she's overstimulated, but inside she's just like very emotional and a big softie, and I love her. I love her so much. I love him. I love the way that he cared for her. I love their love. I love their romance. I love this writing. 5 stars. I could just talk about this all day. While we're in the Elsie Silver train, I have to talk about Wild Eyes. This is the second book in her Rose Hill series, which is another small town series, and all of these books are also single dad. So we have Weston Belmont, who is a single dad in a small town, and we have Skylar Stone, who is a country star that comes to the small town. She's a country singer. Did I say that? Country star. Country singer, country pop star. So Skylar comes to Rose Hill to kind of seek some refuge from being in the spotlight. And also there is a record studio there, which you learn about in the first book, Wild Love. But this book, oh my gosh, this is another one I could talk about all day long. Weston Belmont is the epitome of everything I love in a man. He is calm and loving and steady and secure, and he healed parts of me that I didn't even know needed healing. Like reading things, I was like, oh my gosh, this man. I highlighted and annotated the heck out of this book. I really connected to Skylar as well. Like some of the things she was talking about in relation to like her fame were relatable to me, not because I'm famous in any way, shape, or form. I'm clearly not a country singer, but the way she was talking about like putting on the image and like putting on the front to other people. I don't know. I just feel like she was such a beautifully written and relatable and really vulnerable female main character. And Weston was just like, oh, I love him. I adore him. Both of them are two of my new favorite main characters, I think, of all time. Elsie Silver just writes the best characters. This was incredible. Easy 5-star read for me. I knew by like the 30% mark of this book that it was going to be a 5-star. Then I have 2 books in the Magnolia Parks series, and they are later books in the series, so I can't give a ton of information on them without giving spoilers, but I gave I gave The Long Way Home a 5-star. The ending of this book, like I audibly gasped out loud. I remember reading it and I was like, oh, because the ending, if you've read this, you know the ending. It like leaves an imprint on your heart. I couldn't not pick up the next book after reading this. And I think that's where the 5-star rating came from, is like the raw emotion that I felt at the end of this book. I was like, okay, I'm in it. I'm connected to these characters. This is a 5-star for me. But the more memorable 5-star, I would say, is Into the Dark. This book covers grief in depth, and I read this towards the beginning of my own grieving journey this past year, and everything that was being said just like hit so close to home. That, coupled with the way that mental health is talked about, specifically related to a negative relationship around food, I really deeply connected to that as well. I have that in my past. And so just the way that that is written and talked about, I think was handled really responsibly by Jessa Hastings, but also boldly. Like she did not shy away from the vulnerability and the raw emotion and like what it truly feels like to have that. I don't know. I just feel like this covered so many amazing, sensitive topics in such a powerful way. Like this brought up so much emotion to me. I could like cry if I sit here and think about it long enough. An amazing book. And I have 3 books in another favorite series that I read and discovered this past year. This is the Windy City series. So I have Mile High, The Right Move, and Play Along. Caught Up was a 4.5-star for me. I really want to read Caught Up, which is book 3. I want to read it again because I think I read it at a bad time. I don't know. I need to give that one another shot because I feel like it has potential to also be a 5-star, but as of now, it is not. So all of these are professional sports romances, and I honestly, this sounds weird to so many people, but I equate this series kind of to the Chestnut Springs series because they both are obviously interconnected standalones. They both have really memorable and strong, empowered female main characters, and they both have male main characters that you cannot help but fall in love with. So even though Chestnut Springs is like country, small town, and this is more like city, fame, professional sports, they feel similar to me. I don't know why. I feel like if you like one, you're going to like the other. Anyways, Mile High, we have Xanders and Stevie. This is a professional hockey romance, and I loved both of them. I related to Stevie so much on so many levels, and Xanders was like a playboy on the outside, but when you saw inside, he was just like such a soft-hearted, genuine, emotional human. And seeing that in a man, like seeing the soft insides of a really gruff exterior, it will melt my heart every single time. Then The Right Move, we have Stevie's brother and Stevie's best friend. This is a professional basketball player. So we have Ryan Shea as the male main character and Indy is our female main character. This is a fake marriage, I believe, forced proximity, and if your love language is acts of service, you need to read this book. The man that Ryan Shea is, he is everything. Everything. And then the fourth book, book 4, is actually the brother of the male main character in Caught Up, which is book 3. This is a baseball romance and also a forbidden love, workplace love, and he falls first and he falls harder. It follows Kennedy and Isaiah and their romance. I did not expect to love this one as much as I did because Isaiah was a side character in the past books that I never really felt super connected to. So when I heard he was getting his own book, I was like, feels kind of random, honestly. I mean, okay, but it's kind of random. I fell in love with it. It actually ended up being my favorite book so far in the series. It's incredible. All of these books are incredible. You need to read this series. End of story. Then if you want to cry, The Last Letter. I read this in a vlog and there's actual footage of me laying on my floor just ugly crying, sobbing my eyes out reading this book. Oh my gosh. This is a military romance. I don't even know how to describe this book besides just telling you it's going to rip your heart out. I'm very hesitant to describe this book because I don't want to give any spoilers. We have a single mom and a military man that comes home from the military. Okay, here. We have a single mom and her brother's best friend, who was in the military with him, comes home after her brother passes away in the military, and he has made a promise to the brother that he will help care for the male or the female main character. Does that make sense? So Ella's brother Ryan passes away in the military. Ryan's best friend Beckett comes home from the military to meet Ella and fulfill his promise to Ryan that he will help care for Ella. I don't know if that makes sense. You need to read this book. It will make you cry. If you want to sob your eyes out, read this. That is all I will say. I feel like my words aren't happening. Then I have a book by probably my favorite author that I discovered this past year. I have The Women by Kristin and oh my gosh. So this takes place during the Vietnam War, and not only did I learn so much about the war and the political climate and the social climate during the time, why did I never learn this in the past? If I did, it never soaked in, but this evoked such a passion in me for learning about this war and about this time period. Anyways, not only that, but this book covers different forms of love, different types of relationships, war times, the impact of war, PTSD, mental health, trauma, and I think maybe the most prominent and the most meaningful is the female friendship and the power of women. This follows Frankie mainly, who is a nurse in the Vietnam War, and it follows her in the war and then after the war, where she is just constantly diminished and silenced and not believed and pushed to the side, and the way that women are treated as second-class citizens. This book was powerful, so powerful. Another book that I highlighted, annotated, tabbed the heck out of. This is a must read. I would recommend everybody read this book, everybody, woman or not. It was amazing. It was really amazing. And I know I said I wasn't going to order these books, but I think we did save my top favorite book for last, The Nightingale by Kristin. I put this book off for so long. This is the first historical fiction that I have read in my adult reading life, and I was so scared to read historical fiction. I was like, there's no way I'm going to enjoy that. The book is super long. I'm intimidated. I don't need to read that. I'm not gonna like it. It might be my new favorite book of all time. This follows two sisters during World War II, and I feel like my biggest takeaway from this book, aside from just the gut-wrenching reality of wartime and World War II, my biggest takeaway I feel like was how both of these women embodied strength and power in such different ways. They are both incredibly strong women, but they go about their strength in different ways, if that makes sense. I feel like this book really showed that you can be strong and powerful in different areas of life. It doesn't always look the same. You know what I mean? Strong isn't always on the front lines fighting, like in the action. Sometimes strength is staying back or caring for your family or being resilient or crying and being vulnerable. Like I just feel like, I don't know if this is making any sense, but like the messaging in this book I think is the most impactful messaging that I've ever read in any book. And I do believe that all of Kristin Hanna's books are based on reality. Like she does a ton of research, which I really respect and I really love about her writing because it is fact-based. Like she does the work to honor and like do justice to the historical events that she's talking about in her fiction. Absolutely phenomenal, absolutely incredible. Another book that made me cry. I would say I was reading through tears for the last like 20% of this book. Oh, it's gut-wrenching. You need to read it. You need to read it. Don't you love that I'm like, these books will absolutely rip your heart out, stomp on it, and shatter it into 1,000 pieces, but you should read it. You should definitely read it. Only readers, I feel like, understand that. All right, book besties, that is the 11 books out of over 150 that I have given 5 stars in 2024. These are the top of the top, the creme de la creme. Is that the same? These are the top of the top. These are my favorite books of the year. These are books that I would recommend to anybody and everybody that will listen to me talk about books. They are everything. They are my heart and soul. They are my children. They are my babies. I love them with my whole heart. But that is all for today's video. I hope this inspired you to add some of these new books to your TBR, and I hope that you love them as much as I did. And if you didn't, I don't really want to hear about it because it will hurt my feelings. But thanks for hanging out with me. Before you leave, I want you to comment down below your #1 most memorable 5-star read from 2024 so I can add it to my own TBR if I haven't read it yet. But that's all I have for you. Make sure you're subscribed here so you don't miss any future videos, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, book besties.